Hello, I'm Dale Gibson, and I've been organising the Bee Craft Lectures here at the National Honey Show. It's a great time to be talking about bees. The season's closed down, and we've got lots and lots to reflect on in the last year. It's been a difficult year in so many ways. We've had high levels of disease, but also we've had the incursions of the Asian hornet. The person who I'm talking to right now has got direct experience of both of those. Jack Silberrad is a bee inspector. He's authorised bee inspector for the National Bee Unit, and he's been out there with EFB at the sharp end. Over 10% of the cases of EFB in the UK and England been on his patch in Cambridgeshire. That is an awesome tally for a relatively small county. And he's also been on the South Coast combating the Asian hornet's footholds on Kent. So I think it's really appropriate that after his lecture this morning, a totally enthusiastic, energetic discussion of the pitfalls of not applying proper hygiene and of spreading European foul brood, which is a key disease which is getting more prevalent in the UK. It's a very persistent disease. And Jack's going to tell us what his experience of delivering that message to our Beecraft followers in the lecture were today. Jack, how did it go for you?
It was fantastic. I was really, really excited to be here. It's always a little bit nervous, or I'm always a little bit nervous before a presentation. I think that's natural, but the people in that lecture theatre were enthusiastic. They were motivated to be there. And I should say the message that I bring regarding European foul brood isn't a message of doom and gloom and destruction, a very key word in the management of notifiable disease. But actually it's one of hope. It's it's a positive message, because actually European foul brood can be managed. It is within our capacity to do that. And I think, having spoken to some of the attendees afterwards, there was gratitude there, but also people were inquiring. They were looking for additional ideas to take away, adapt to their practice. There is no one size fits all solution for European foul brood. And certainly I did my best this morning to give lots of different options and tools that people could take away to their outfits, their operations.
Yeah, putting together 69 slides is a big task, because it gives you a lot of visual on the position of the whole EFB and Asian hornet situation, but also so many solutions to how to avoid EFB becoming a problem for you, or once you have it as a problem, how best to address it. So that's your role. That's where you walk in, because it's a notifiable disease in the UK.
It is something to be taken seriously. By notifiable, there is this legal obligation to report it and have it dealt with, but that shouldn't be an onerous thing. You talk about the visual elements of the presentation, and I'm a visual person. Our inspections are visual. We are looking at frames. So from that perspective, it's totally appropriate. If a viewer knows nothing about European foul brood, not a problem. Start with healthy brood. Start with understanding, what does a larvae that's having a good time look like? So we're talking about C-shaped larvae, pearly white, moist, almost good enough to eat. It's got segmentation, and the gut should be a healthy color, whether that's a yellowy orange gut or a clear gut having voided its bowels on the way to pupation. So even if you know nothing else about any other disease, so long as you're aware of what healthy brood looks like, if it starts to change, if things start to go wrong, then you can interrogate that. And if you have suspicions, you are obligated to, but again, it shouldn't be onerous. We bee inspectors are friendly. Reach out, get in touch, head to the contacts page on the National Bee Unit website, find your local inspector, reach out and get it looked at. For those who might be interested to know what European foul brood looks like and differentiating that from other kinds of brood condition, then again, we're looking at aberrations from that healthy brood. The loss of segmentation, changing of the color from that lovely pearly white to something that might be yellow or mustard brown, off-white. The gut then, going from that healthy orangey yellow or a clear gut to a gut that has a very definitive, creamy, mayonnaisey white gut. And I should specify, that's the actual causative organism. That's Melissococcus My brain's just gone
Plutonius.
blank. Thank you. Yes, Melissococcus plutonius. It's been a long day. It's been a long few weeks. And as you mentioned, Asian hornet, I'm part of a very small part of a very large team that are working incredibly hard. And I'm sure there are people even more exhausted than I am. I know there are, in fact. So Melissococcus plutonius infests the gut. It multiplies, it replicates, and it forms this sort of homogeneous, sticky, white-filled gut. Incidentally, it's the open stages of brood, pre-capping or before capping, if you want to take the letter E of EFB, like B4 capping, that's where you're going to see those symptoms. That's where you're going to find the brood with the white gut. People sometimes talk about a funny smell, and that can be present, but that's normally something to do with decomposition, secondary infections of those broods. So having given advice like this morning, you could see people in the room nodding and making notes, and this is fantastic. This is really, really excellent to see beekeepers taking charge of the health of their brood, because we as inspectors, we're a team of 60 to 70 people in the country. We can't be everywhere at once.
Absolutely.
But we need that support. Sorry.
Part of that process, though, is when you suspect that there might be EFB present in a hive, or if you suspect you just seized an Asian hornet, take a picture and send it to the appropriate authority. So that means that you can assess it remotely without having to come to site for EFB, and the invasive non-native species people can look at the Asian hornet prospectively and judge whether they need to allocate assets. What we don't want people to do is just to call up on a whim and say, I think I've seen something, because that isn't going to get you down anywhere at all. But using your cameras on your phones and sending those images to the bee inspectors and the invasive non-native species guys is going to be really helpful.
So I think, actually, just to touch on something, we do want to hear from people, even if it is just a phone call.
Right.
The easiest thing to do is actually to get the Asian Hornet Watch app.
Yes.
That allows you to take pictures, geolocate. And a picture is fantastic. We can interrogate a picture and decide if something's credible or likely. Equally, if you're an entomologist, if you're a beekeeper with lots of experience in France, and all you're able to do is spot something and make a phone call, we'd still like to hear about it and try to triage it. Regarding EFB, again, if you can take a picture, it's always really, really helpful. A description's lovely, but in this age of technology, we have all sorts of different channels of communication, and a picture is 1,000 words. We as inspectors, we see this all the time. We can very quickly diagnose a problem, or actually, as is often the case, give somebody reassurance and say, actually, what you're looking at might be moldy pollen, or it might be sac brood, or another condition. And I would sooner get 100 pictures of pollen and give that reassurance. Normally in my case, I'll try and do it within 24 hours. Then people worry about false alarms or wasting anybody's time. It's Absolutely. What we're here for. We're a taxpayer paid service, and arguably one of the best, I think, value for money services that we have.
We are value for money because you're free to the user. And so all beekeepers will receive your advice, your counselling, and eventually your work for free. So certainly beekeepers sometimes see the national bee unit or bee inspectors as the big bad wolf who's going to deliver bad news for them and make their lives more difficult. Wow. What's going to really make your life difficult is if your bees die. So this is the way that you can actually apply first aid to your bees, and you can make yourself a better beekeeper. That's a great combination of things.
Absolutely, and many people will talk about the friendly, helpful teaching elements of having an inspection, not just for EFB, but for any sort of reason. I would also hasten to add, in Cambridgeshire, where we had this last year, this huge spike in EFB, possibly because I was performing so many inspections. If you look for something, you find it. The vast majority of the outcomes of those inspections were shook swarms. So actually, this perception that bees are killed and burned and that's the end of the line, and that would naturally produce fear in a beekeeper and worry. I think that needs to be changed, that needs to be looked at. And the vast majority of shook swarms, if you've got the very, very good value bee disease insurance, reimbursed for frames, reimbursed for other pieces of kit, the stuff, I'm going to use a sensible word, that we collect in our sheds as beekeepers, that we accumulate over time through the whole apiary shook swarm scheme, we can also get rid of that potential source of contamination and infection as well. And it's reimbursable on bee disease insurance. So I would definitely check out their tariffs page. It's extremely good value. We talked about 2 coffees and a slice of cake earlier. Here in London, probably coming in somewhere close to £20. I think that covers you up to 39 colonies on bee disease insurance. So that plus the free services, the National Bee Unit supply, the advice, the education, the patience. We are so receptive to the different reasons and ways and places that people keep bees. We're not here to wag the finger. We're not here to tell you to do it in a specific way, by rote, same solution for everybody. We're here to work with you. By return, we do ask that beekeepers work with us, help us out, communicate with us, look at the legislation, or at least be aware of it, and act in good faith. That's really all I could ever ask from my beekeeper. Just act in good faith. We're all human, and even the inspectors.
I think you did a great job of sort of bomb disposal this morning. People who would have entered that room with trepidation left with a real energy as I'm going to become more hygienic. I don't want to have EFB. I've got lots of ways now that I've been taught to minimize the risk of that. But if it happens, I've got a full set of tools. I'm full of confidence of how it's going to work, and I can go forward and I can be a born again beekeeper.
That's a strong turn of phrase, but it is a challenge, and it is something I and my inspector colleagues are trying to do in terms of changing that perception of what the service means when these problems arrive. And it's not really an if. Some areas are more prone to EFB than others. Some areas have got high density of beekeepers. Some areas have got lots of migratory practices going on, so different colonies from different areas moving in and out. So the challenges are unique by region, but almost ubiquitously, we're perpetually overturning this concept that, as you say, the big bad wolf come to destroy my colonies. No, it's the big friendly bee inspector come to offer some best practice, talk about your husbandry, see what's going on. We do like tea and cake, but officially we're there to help you with your bees. So we're a service, and a really, really positive service, I would argue.
Absolutely. Well, Jack, you did a fantastic job out there today, and really, I think that you're going to go a long way in the beekeeping world with your messages and with the delivery and the eloquence with which you get those messages across. I'd like to also just mention that tomorrow the National Honey Show continues. Saturday is very much a family day. So I would urge you to pack up the car, jump on the bus, get on your bicycle, and come along to the National Honey Show and see what all the fuss is about with our delicious, wonderful honeybees, and the things you can learn about all the other pollinators in our ecosystem. That is something which I would say is a great family day out. So, Jack, thank you for doing the hard yards of talking about disease in bees, but I think you did a job that is going to make a lot of people happy, not sad.
Thank you. More positive than a Cambridge EFB test.
That's what we like to see.